There was a time when Sega was not just competing with Nintendo and Sony. Sega was inventing the future of gaming itself. The analog stick, online console gaming, motion controls. Every one of these ideas started at Sega, years before their competitors ever touched them. And yet, in 2001, Sega walked away from making consoles forever. This is the story of how a company that invented the future destroyed its own place in it. In 1991, Sega released the Genesis alongside a blue hedgehog who could run faster than sound. Sonic wasn't just a mascot. He was a direct challenge to Nintendo's dominance. For the first time, Sega actually beat Nintendo in the US market. Sega was cool, Nintendo was for kids. That was the entire marketing war, and Sega was winning it. Sega's arcade business was equally massive, pumping profits back into research that competitors simply couldn't match. Sega's engineers were years ahead. They built the first console controller with an analog stick. They experimented with 3D graphics before anyone else took it seriously. By 1993, Sega controlled over half of the US console market. They were not just a competitor to Nintendo. For a brief moment, they were ahead. In 1994, Sega learned Sony was entering the console business with something called the PlayStation. Panic set in immediately. At E3 1995, Sega's US president walked on stage and announced the Saturn was available for purchase. That day, immediately, no warning to retailers. Toys R Us and other major retailers had no marketing ready, no shelf space prepared, and were furious at being blindsided. Some refused to sell the console at all in protest. Because the launch happened 6 months earlier than planned, most developers had nowhere near enough time to finish their games. The Saturn launched with almost nothing to play. Sony, meanwhile, launched PlayStation properly, with retailer support, marketing, and a library of games ready on day one. Within 2 years, PlayStation had crushed the Saturn in nearly every market. Sega had panicked its way into one of the worst console launches in history. Sega abandoned Saturn owners with almost no warning. The second time in 2 years they had done this to loyal customers. The damage to trust was severe and lasting. In 1998, Sega tried again. The Dreamcast was, by nearly every technical measure, ahead of its time. It had a built-in modem for online gaming, 6 years before Xbox Live existed. It had a memory card with its own screen. It had genuinely impressive graphics for 1998. The Dreamcast launch in America sold out almost immediately. For a moment, it looked like Sega might actually recover. But trust, once broken twice, is hard to rebuild. Many customers who had been burned by the Saturn were cautious, and Sony had already announced the PlayStation 2 was coming. When PS2 launched in 2000, its marketing budget alone was larger than Sega's entire console division. Retailers gave PS2 the prime shelf space. Dreamcast got pushed to the side. Despite Dreamcast genuinely being a better piece of technology in several ways, sales collapsed within a year. It simply could not overcome what Sega had broken years earlier. In January 2001, Sega made an announcement that shocked the gaming industry. They were leaving the console hardware business forever. Just 2 years after launching what many still consider one of the most innovative consoles ever made, Sega chose to stop building hardware entirely. From that point on, Sega would only make games for the very competitors, PlayStation and Nintendo, who had beaten them. Every online gaming feature you use today on PlayStation or Xbox exists on a foundation Sega built first, with the Dreamcast in 1999. Every analog stick on every modern controller traces its lineage back to Sega's research in the early 1990s. Sega didn't lose because they ran out of ideas. They lost because they broke trust twice. And trust, once spent, is the hardest currency in business to earn back. Every feature your console has today, Sega invented it first. They just ran out of trust before they ran out of ideas. Subscribe. We post a new business secret every week that most people will never know.